Hi everyone. So in this video, I want to talk about color harmony, an easy way to do it. And I've never seen anyone else make a video on it, but of course I haven't seen all videos out there, but I figured this out on my own. And maybe this is common sense for most of you. You'd be like, oh, duh. So here it is. So, first of all, using a limited coloring palette, a limited number of colors will make a more harmonious image. And there's a reason for that. It's because you're integrating them and that creates the harmony. So here's an example. Don't mind the messy coloring. I quickly colored this in because I just want to make a point about the colors, not trying to do the best job here. So it's very messy, so just ignore the messy coloring and just notice this can be an example of a finished page here. Let me turn the light down a little bit so you can see the colors. But yeah, you can see, I colored it in. I've got ultramarine blue, I've got sepia brown, oyster. I'm using the Castle Art Golds pencils. And this is, what is this? Which one is this? Leaf green deep. Okay. So I colored it in. The grass is green. These are gray, blue gray, browns, brown for the tree trunk, blue sky. And, they're, pretend it's colored in well. It's a decent looking picture. The colors are appropriate, but it just doesn't look harmonious as it could, right? It's sort of blah, it's not looking as nice or harmonious as it could. So how can I fix that? Well, the way to do that is to combine the colors, like the darkest color, like the blue, the ultramarine blue I use for the sky, using that color and combining it with all the other elements of the drawing. So instead of just grabbing a gray to do shading, using a combination of blue and brown will give you a nice gray. So here right now we have the brown trunks, the brown roof, and normally you'd grab a gray pencil to maybe shade in, and you can still do that. But on top of that, you want to combine the color of the sky, for example, you could use, or any other color in the page, whatever color you want to be dominant, taking that color and adding it everywhere. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the ultramarine blue, that's the sky color here, and I'm going to use that to fill in the shadows here. So you're going to say, oh, wait a minute, you're using blue for a shadow? I don't know about that. Well, don't worry, because blue, and then we'll put brown. I have sepia brown here on top of it, and it comes out to a nice gray. So here, this is sepia brown on the roof, so I'm coloring that ultramarine on top of it. It's making a nice dark gray. And it's a much more interesting gray than a gray pencil. Now I'm using sepia brown on top of that, and it makes a sort of a variated kind of gray that looks actually nicer than just plain gray color. Makes it more interesting, it has more interest. So this is the color of the sky that I'm adding in. So I'm going to fill in this a little bit better. I didn't do a very good job coloring in because I'm just doing a quick to show you about making the harmony here. And the same with the tree trunk. I've got the brown, sepia brown tree trunk. I'm going to add some of this sky color, the same color as the sky here, and I'm adding it into the shadows of the trunk. So one side of the trunk I'll shadow with the sky color. And then I'll come down to this tree and I will use the ultramarine blue to shadow in one side. The light source is over here where the moon is. And then the same thing with these tombstones that are a blue-gray color. So I use the gray pencil here. Just gonna fill it in a little bit better. Like I said, I did this very quickly just to make a point. So this is the blue-gray of the tombstones here. Now I'm going to take the sky color, the ultramarine blue, and I'm going to use that to shade the sides of the tombstones. And if it looks too blue to me, I will add some sepia brown into that to gray it down. Okay. All right, so at night things are going to look more blue anyway. So if it looks a little too blue, just put a little more brown on top of it, and it will get more gray looking. All right, so then with the grass, so I have the dark leaf green for the grass, which I have here. And again, Don't mind how messily it is colored in. It is a mess. I'm just focusing on the colors right now. So here I have grass everywhere. One color, it's just one color green. So how do I shade this in? Now again, you could just reach for the gray pencil, but a better thing to do, like I said, is the blue color of the sky, using that again. And I'm going to use that to, like, say, shade this area of the grass. And then I'll use it over here on this side of the, where the tombstones are making a shadow from the moonlight there. And I'll use it also here where the dirt is, kind of. I put green on top of that. I should have left it brown, but whatever. So I'll put the blue on there, a little shading. A little shaded down there. Also, go back and shade the side of the door here. I forgot to do that. So I put the blue, ultramarine blue, and the sepia on top of that. So now it's nice gray looking. And again, if it looks too brown, you put the brown on it, then go back with the blue and go over it. Just keep doing it till you're happy with it. And again, down here, I'm using the blue, ultramarine blue, and shading it down here. And if it's too bluish to me, I will take the sepia brown and just lightly go over it so it looks more gray. And you get a very nice dark gray look here. So here's a little blue, so I'll add some brown on that. Yeah. So you just keep doing that. You use the blue, so this brings harmony into the picture. So I'm gonna put some shading under here, under this ledge of the roof. It looks very blue to me, so now I'm gonna add some of the brown on top of that, lightly, very light hand here. Make it a little more brown. Back with the blue. Get a little darker right here. And back with the brown on top of that. So this makes nice shading. And where else? I'll add a little shading to the grass. Let's say over here, I'll make this a little darker. So I'm adding the ultramarine blue, the sky color here, and just putting it on top of the grass to give it a darker look up here. A little shading there, a little shading there, a little shading by this. And then even the whole side of the church, I'm just going to go over it with the blue because this whole side should be darker. So I'm just going to go over a light, very light hand here. I'm holding the pencil all the way back. Very light. And same back here on this side. Make this all blue up there. That looks a little too blue to me, so I'm putting a little very light layer of brown to gray that. And then going back to the side here, adding just a very light brown layer to gray up that blue. And then back to the branches here. I started shading the branches. I'm back with the ultramarine blue, and I'm just going to darken those shades a little bit. Shading here on one side. So now the branch looks like it has blue lines underneath it, but I will fix that with the brown in a moment. So now everywhere I just put blue. I'm taking the same sepia brown I used for the roof and the tree trunk. I'm going over, lightly going over where I put the blue. Yeah, we got a little bit over the roof again. We got a little neater. Now again, I put blue back here, and the blue, I can still see blue here, so I'm covering that with a very light layer of brown to gray that up. And I'll go back with the green. This is the leaf green that I used basically, and I'll go over all that with the leaf green. Now it's really going to be a nice dark looking shaded grass color now. And the best part is it matches the sky because it's the same blue as the sky. And the same blue used on the church with the shadowing and the tombstones, so that it all just blends together and creates harmony with the picture. So it's very subtle, you know, it's not screaming out at you. It's filling in the sky just a little bit. Again, don't mind the messy coloring here because I'm just focusing on the colors, but I just want you to see how much more this is looking harmonious than it did before I started bringing the colors together and using. So the point is just using one color on your page. In this case, for me, it was the blue. You can use the darkest color and just use that for the shading of areas, blending it in. Even if you use gray to shade, you can add in. So I could have used gray to shade the building or the tombstone, and then on top of that, put a little bit of the ultramarine blue. And I'm gonna put a little ultramarine blue down here, shade this up a little, and it does bring together the drawing and it just makes it look more harmonious. But it's kind of counterintuitive. You don't normally think of putting, you know, ultramarine blue into the grass or on a building, but it does bring it together more and more the more you add it. And the same thing with the highlight. So you can also use the lightest color. For example, I can use the moonlight as well to put highlights of the moon onto everything, and that will also help create harmony. And by the way, this is the Castle Art Gold free download. I have finished coloring in the palette here, the swatch, so you can see more clearly than before. The first time I did it, I just sort of did it quickly. But these are the colors of the Castle Art Gold in order, so you can see that. And so same thing, so with the darkest color, use the darkest color, especially blue or whatever the dominant color is, and use that as part of the shading and all of your shading parts, and that will help bring harmony in. Also highlights, so if I have yellow moon and I put yellow highlights on everything, so let me see, I'll take a yellowish color for the moon. I'll use, I'll use Tuscan yellow for the moon. So let's say I have the moonlight over here. Say I color that in yellow, Tuscan yellow, very quickly. Then what I can do to bring the moon color into the picture is just use some yellow over here. Even if you don't really see it so much, it'll still be picked up, you know. So I put a little yellow over here, maybe a little yellow on some of the tips here. Put a little yellow on top of here. Just wherever the light would hit, on the side of the tombstone, a little bit on the grass here even. And that also, you know, just on the one side of the, you know, wherever the moonlight would, and I could even put it on the front of here, in the front of the church. And it really it'll bring together and bring harmony to the whole picture. So no matter what colors you use, you can get harmony just by integrating all the colors. And again, using a limited palette, and that's why using a limited palette is so much better, because you are bringing together all the colors and it creates harmony. So no matter what colors you use, I think you can pretty much use any colors, and as long as you combine them all together, it will make a more harmonious and nicer looking picture in the end. So that is it. That's all I wanted to show you. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.